All right, let's just jump right in. You know the feeling. We've all been there, right? Staring at that blank page, that blinking cursor, that empty canvas, and there's just nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just this hollow, kind of terrifying silence where all your good ideas used to live.
It's that awful sinking feeling, isn't it? That little voice that whispers, uh-oh, maybe you've lost it. Maybe the well has finally run dry. And it seems like the harder you try to squeeze your brain for just one decent idea, the less you get. But what if? What if we've been looking at this whole problem completely backwards? See, here's the big twist. The problem isn't that you're out of ideas. No way. The reality is that your internal filter, your inner critic, is just so terrified of letting a bad idea see the light of day that it shuts everything down. And honestly, understanding this one little shift, well, it changes everything. To really get a handle on this, we need a better metaphor. So I want you to forget about the idea of an empty well. Instead, I want you to picture your creativity as this huge, powerful, flowing river. So on the one hand, you've got that feeling of emptiness, right? The dry well. But the reality is actually the complete opposite. It's not a lack of water, it's a blockage. The potential, the ideas, all that creative juice, it's all there, it can't get through. And that river, it is always flowing. It's just churning with everything. Little fragments of thoughts, weird impulses, and yeah, a messy mix of both absolutely brilliant ideas and some truly, truly terrible ones. The water is there. In fact, there's usually way too much of it. And this is our culprit. That inner critic, that little voice in your head, it's like a frantic beaver building a massive dam. It's the part of you that screams, "That's stupid," or "Nope, that's been done before." It demands that only the most perfect, pure, crystal clear ideas are allowed to pass. So because the critic is waiting for that one single perfect idea, it just seals the dam completely shut. And since the water behind it is a mix of everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, well, nothing gets through at all. The pressure starts to build, you get anxious, and the stream in front of you stays totally dry. So the real question is, how do we blow up the dam? Well, this brings us to this fantastic, famous story from a ceramics class that just perfectly illustrates a super counterintuitive point. Creative flow doesn't come from judging, it comes from doing. Okay, so the story goes, a ceramics teacher splits his class into two groups. Group A, the quality group, was told they'd be graded on just one single pot, but it had to be perfect. Meanwhile, Group B, the quantity group, would be graded on pure volume. They just had to produce 50 pounds of pots. Didn't matter what they looked like. And here's the amazing part. When the end of the semester came, all the best work, the most beautiful, the most refined, the highest quality pots, they all came from the quantity group. Think about it. While the quality group was paralyzed, just theorizing about perfection, the quantity group was busy making stuff, messing up, learning from their mistakes, and trying again. They were actually practicing. So how do we use this? How do we apply this quantity mindset in our own work? Well, we need a practical tool, a little trick to get our brains to let go of that perfectionism and just start. And that tool is something called the idea quota. The rules are incredibly simple. Step 1, you lower the bar, like all the way to the floor. Your goal isn't to have one good idea. Your goal is to have, say, 10 terrible ideas. Step 2, you have to embrace the bad. You're aiming for volume, not value. This totally disarms that inner critic. And then finally, step 3, once you have this big pile of junk, you sift through it looking for just one tiny spark of gold. And I mean, you should be aiming for truly awful ideas. Give yourself permission to come up with absolute garbage. By making terrible the goal, you basically trick the security guard at the gate. Your inner critic can't yell, "That's a terrible idea," if that was exactly what you were trying to do in the first place. You've just given yourself permission to start. And here's the cool part, the reason this actually works. Your first 5 or 6 bad ideas, they're usually just cliches, the obvious, boring stuff. But by forcing yourself to get all of that muddy water out of the way, you're making your brain dig deeper, to reach for weirder, newer connections. And it's usually around idea number 8 or 9 that something genuinely strange and interesting starts to pop up. So really, the main thing to take away from all this is a whole new mindset. You don't have to find the perfect idea today. You just have to get the water moving. Your only job is to find your next 10 bad ideas. This is the secret, right here. Creativity is a numbers game. You have to churn through all the mediocre stuff to get to the magnificent.
If you can just give yourself permission to be messy, to make a lot of things, and to just stay in motion, inspiration doesn't really have a choice in the matter. It'll find you.
So let's do it. Let's put this into practice right now. Don't think about it too much. Don't judge it. What is the first ridiculous, silly, or just plain awful idea that pops into your head? Go. Because that's not a block. That's the river starting to flow.